and welcome to Maul and Disorder on Forever Sports. It is a Thursday. We are 2 days, in fact, less than 48 hours away from the Rugby Championship start and the Boks back on the field. And excitement levels are brewing. We had a Wallabies team announcement today. We had Rassie announcing the team on Monday, of all things. So we've got a lot to get through here on Maul and Disorder. And we're also going to be asking you guys a couple of questions. So first of all, we've got two things that I need you guys to do. We have got a vote running in the comments, and basically we're asking this new Stormers logo, yay or nay? Try or lie? That's the segment. We're going to get to it a little bit later. But the big thing I want to know is what are your score predictions for Saturday? That's my big question. Now, as always, I'm never going to be joined by myself on More Than Disorder, so I'm here with Mr. Allister de Block. Ali, how are you?
How's it, Stevie? Lekker himself, man. Good to be back.
Oh, can't complain. Boks are back.
What a pleasure.
The Boks are back. We're going to have a brow after this. Like,
it feels like a Friday, actually.
It does.
It's Friday
It
vibes,
does.
man.
You know, if I go to heaven one day, this is kind of what I feel like I want it to be. You know, a bit of brow there, maybe a browns on the table, the good things. You know, the good things in life. Now, we've got a lot to get through. So, coming up on the episode, we're going to talk about Springboks versus Australia. We're going to talk about the Rugby Championship kickoff, All Blacks, Argentina. We're going to be talking about the new Stormers logo, very contentious. We're going to be talking about the R360 debate, predictions, and we're going to be introducing a segment. We don't actually have one this evening, but we're going to be introducing a segment which we're going to do every single week called Maul of Shame. The Maul of Shame. And basically, we're actually not going to be asking for you guys to give us your input. We need you guys to go and find moments, whether it's a big tackle, for example, or a fumble over the try line, a howl of a referee decision, something rugby related that deserves to go into the Maul of Shame. That is what the segment is. So without any further ado, let's get into it, shall we? Because we're going to start with the big thing on everyone's minds, and that is Saturday. Big call from Rassie, and interesting to sort of see how things go. But let's talk about the Springbok team before we could go into the Australian side. Rassie first of all, naming it on Monday. And the big thing I want to talk about tonight, and that's the title of the show, is he going to change his team? Because he announced on Monday and basically said that should the Wallabies go with a 6-2 split, then they might change the team. They might deploy an RS name on the bench, for example. And what was interesting then was that I was at the press conference this afternoon with Joe Schmidt. And, he basically sort of said that they might also change their team because they were supposed to go with a 5-3 split. Late injury to Ben Donaldson means they then went with a 6-2 split. But he said basically, depending on how things go with training tomorrow, Tane Edmund in the squad, they might put him back to a 5-3 split. So both coaches sort of trying to double bluff each other at the moment.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of mind games going on here, Stevie. When do they have to make their changes by if they make the changes again?
I mean, in theory, you're supposed to submit the team 24 hours in advance. They changed it back from 48 hours. It used to be 48 hours as a standard. And they've changed it now. So, for example, each competition does have its kind of own rules, really. So the EPCR, for example, they very much are, you name the side at 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. And that, like, literally, if you're a news reporter, that 1 o'clock, suddenly you get like 55 emails with team announcements. My understanding is it's 24 hours now, which means in theory they've got based until tomorrow afternoon to submit a team sheet. However, obviously things can change on the day if there are injuries.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of sort of space. So it's very interesting to sort of see tomorrow. Will we see a block team announcement coming out in the morning? Will the Wallabies respond?
Well, I mean, as you said, Rassie's already intimated if there's a 6-2 split for Australia, which we've seen there is, according to the team that has been released today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So a bit of RG on the bench, who knows? Could be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't. My biggest thing is, do we need a 6-2 split to counter a Wallaby 6-2 split?
What I need is an 8-0 split, because we haven't seen it
That's
yet,
what we really need. What we need is a 7-1 with Andre Esterhuizen. So therefore, it's in theory a 7-1, and then I want to see him come on the flank. But having said that, the Andre Esterhuizen thing is very interesting because, yes, we've got a 5-3 split. We can still replace 2 flanks, for example, though. So it can still be a 6-2 split.
It could be,
if you move Andre Esterhuizen to the flank.
Well, that's exactly what Rassie's done so well over this past, couple of months. Having these utility players,
Yeah.
even more than months. I mean, even stretching back to the Nienaber days, which weren't too long ago, of course. But all of these players that play various positions. We've got the Kwachas, Andre Esterhuizen now, who's apparently a flanker in disguise. Sia playing at 8. We've known him to be at 6 in his book career, but I mean, those who have been watching Super Rugby, the URC, have seen Sia playing at 8 at the Sharks for most of the season. So there's a lot of value being placed on these players that can play many positions, and as a result, you see that the split in the bench doesn't necessarily mean that it will be that way, that all the forwards are going to remain forwards and backs, vice versa.
I mean, we need to start just taking the piss. I want to see Peter Steph the toy being. I want to see Andre Esterhuizen coming on the field and Peter Steph the toy going to the wing.
Well, I mean, the way Tony Ball works is that sometimes Peter Steph is on the wing anyway, and it's so great seeing him run into. I love it, man.
Yeah, I mean, seeing that guy marauding down a wing. I mean, imagine trying to be a wing, and first of all, most of the game you're kind of worrying about Kurt Lawrence. Not a particularly big physical threat, but gas, the steps, the works. All of a sudden, you suddenly start seeing Peter Steph the toy floating around in the wings, and see a Khaleesi starting on the wings. I mean, it's a tough time to be a wing at the moment.
No, for sure. Like, if I'm Max Jorgensen and I see Peter Steph running at me on the touchline, I'm cucking myself.
I mean, it's bad enough when, he's in the tight phases and he's kind of running onto a ball, but now you're talking about it, Peter Steph toy in full flow. And he's not slow.
No, not at all. Oh.
So lots to go through. I mean, in terms of some of the picks that we've made, what I want to sort of talk a little bit about, Sia Khaleesi at 8, and then a couple of interesting people to start. Let's start with Sia Khaleesi at 8. You're a Sharks fan. You've watched him at 8 for the Sharks. A little bit of a different way than they actually play in the likes of that. But the big thing that Rassie spoke about was the breakdown and trying to sort of have the likes of a Sia Khaleesi and a Malcolm Staden on the pitch at the same time. Do you think this is going to be an experiment we might see again, or do you think this is kind of a one and done Sia at 8 type of thing?
I think it's something we definitely could be seeing again. I mean, particularly while Jasper's off away for his sins against Italy.
Yeah, literally.
And Rassie is not the one to try something and then just shy away if it doesn't work first time. I mean, most of the time it does. Give him credit, but Sia at 8 is definitely something I think we will see. He's shown that at the Sharks he's got a lot of talent to do that position. Like you say, there is a slight difference between the Sharks and the Boks. The difference is the Boks win and the Sharks don't. But yeah, look, we'll be seeing Sia at 8 a lot more, or maybe not a lot more, but I mean, just to like last week I said I can't predict what's going through Rassie's mind.
I think this is the biggest problem. I mean, we've got a very fun platform that we're kind of developing in the background, and it's one of the features is to be able to predict your teams, predict your Springbok teams. And I mean, it's interesting because I do a show every Monday usually, unless Rassie decides to name the damn team. So Rassie, if you're watching this, can you just Tuesday, please?
It's a Tuesday.
Wednesday would be phenomenal. I mean, I'm all in for Wednesday. Gives us 2 days of hype, but at least a Tuesday. Like now I'm going to whack out like team predictions on a Sunday. You don't even know who the injuries are, and you got to try and make a team prediction. But some people really enjoy it. Some people are sit there saying, "Oh, there's no point in predicting it." And I just think, I mean, people who have no plan on trying to predict it and say there's no point, I just don't think they enjoy life. Because I think this for me is you got to try and put yourself in that mind,
exactly.
The Rassie Erasmus mind, which must be absolute chaos, very organized, very direct chaos. And that's the thing, we just never know. And that's why we can't wait to launch this platform, because then we get to see all the people who say, no, because people tell me point blank, no, that won't be the team. This will be the team. And the fact of the matter is, I don't think anyone's ever predicted a Rassie Erasmus team to the T.
100% correctly, yeah. Now, I think if I were to go into Rassie's mind and someone when you brought me back out of brain damage, because I just wouldn't be able to deal with all of that.
No.
Like you say, chaos going on in there.
No,
organized chaos,
but
I mean, chaos nonetheless.
And I mean, even the coaches meet. So Joe Schmidt's a phenomenal moment, and in his press conference that he spoke about Rassie being the innovator, and Felix Jones being the innovator, and Tony Brown, the influence he brings and the kind of innovation he brings. And he said he'd love to be in the coaching meetings. And he said if anybody's got footage of those coaches meeting and can divvy it out to him, please let them know. But he makes a good point. I mean, the stuff we see, team selections, midfield line, I mean, those coaching meetings must be mental.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think we we got like a small glimpse into it when Chasing the Sun came out
Mm.
both times, and I mean it's a shame that we don't get to see more of that. But yeah, those meetings must be absolutely insane. To be a fly on the wall for that would be super cool.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw like Don Human say, no, he wants 7-1 split or whatever, and Rassie say, no, we can't do it. And you can just see Don's face like, you,
I'm about to deck you.
yeah,
bro.
listen, you don't tell me I can't have my 7-1 split. I want an 8-0 split. I want 6 props on the bench. But speaking of props, big opportunity for a couple of youngsters this weekend. Ninja Vessels, Asnat and Klabakanye. First of all, they're coming off the bench together, which is an interesting selection itself. But you've got a Vincent Koch in the squad. You could be playing, for example. Bowen Venter, hasn't actually played as many games, but is a bit older than Ninja Vessels. But these two are very much project players. I think the big question is, and maybe this is what we're trying to find out this weekend, is are these players general Springbok project players, or is this Project 2027 players?
I think they definitely have an eye on the World Cup 2027, so got to get the games in beforehand, make sure that Oaks are comfortable with Test match rugby. And obviously, like, I mean, looking at Ntlabakanye specifically, they're making sure that guy's fitness is up. And obviously it is if he's been playing for the Bucks, but I think we're going to see an absolutely different beast by the time 2027 comes, given the investment into him as a project player for the World Cup.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is you got Trevor Khan and France Miller becoming injured. And
I don't know if they make it back in.
well, that's the problem. Well,
Yeah.
I think the problem is, are they going to be the same level when they come back? Like with France, they're both basically out for the year. Those are big injuries when you're 35 and you're 36 years old.
That's the problem. It's age.
You know,
Yeah.
so if they don't come back, I suppose I think this is the insurance policy. You've got Thomas du Toit, played mostly at loose head, but can obviously cover tight end, and that's where he plays more naturally these days. If you suddenly go to the World Cup and you're tight head short, you want to make sure that an Asanati, for example, has got. Rassie basically said he basically mentioned 10 caps, 10 to 12 caps. He said that's kind of, I think ideally he won 20 caps plus, but he kind of settles in on 10 caps sort of per player. And I think that we are going to see them sort of try and build those sort of caps into them. But let's go and talk a little bit about Wallabies, some of the way that they might sort of counteract some of the box stuff and some of the key selections. By the way, please do, if you are watching, please make sure that you do get your score predictions in on the chat over here. We've got Kobus Binderman who said SA 34 Oz 25, and we've got Ronnie Mulligan going with 25 Boca 18 Aussies. So those are some of the predictions that we've gotten so far.
That's interesting. Beginning of the year, I mean, obviously it's a long time ago in the rugby calendar, but nobody would have predicted these games to be as close as people are predicting them now.
Well, it's amazing, our 2 matches for the British and Irish Lions, and it's so difficult to judge a British and Irish Lions side because they are the best of a group of nations, but at the same time, they're also a team that gets put together so quickly that they're not quite as gelled as your international sides.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think it's difficult to kind of judge the standard that you're sort of playing in. But let's talk about the Wallabies. James O'Connor at 10, Nick White at 9.
For me,
Big
those
calls.
are the players to watch, eh? Nick White shouldn't be here.
It's supposed to be in retirement.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be on the beach.
It's funny, last week I just felt this like chill down my spine and I checked Google and that was when the Wallabies plane landed. It means that Nick White's in my country, man. Don't like that.
It's going to be an interesting reception on Saturday.
Yeah, look, the guy he riles people up. He's done it successfully against the Bucks before, and that's exactly what he's going to be trying to do again. James O'Connor, the seasoned veteran. I think it's been 3 years since he's played for the Wallabies, but I mean, by no means a slouch.
Yeah, I mean, so I was actually like doing a bit of research. I was reading up about it. I mean, he made his debut, I think, 2011. No, I think it was sooner than that, 2010.
He was 18.
He was a bronze medal winner in the 2011 World Cup. And he's 35, so he would have been 21, 20 at the time. So he's had such an interesting career because he then went to Europe, came back in 2015 to try and make the 2015 World Cup, didn't make it. Went back to Europe, came back, went to Toulon where he then kicked out for a couple of different reasons. He then went back to Australia for the 2019 season, trying to make it back into the World Cup squad. Got invited to the broader squad, but didn't really make it. But he's since stayed there, and he's sort of played for the Reds and kind of got back to some form. Then had a very good season at Crusaders. And I felt like watching him, he felt like he just looked like a different player. I think certain players, especially players who maybe have had a bit of a a party sort of background when they were younger. In fact, I actually once saw him in a club in Johannesburg. I was about 18. I think it was about 48 hours before a Super Rugby game. They were down to play the Lions. But he's now sort of looks like he's got that maturity. Sort of he's grown up a little. I mean, he's got the talent. The fact is, he missed so many years of international rugby. He's still got over 60 caps for the Wallabies.
Well, I mean, we can test that theory. I'll go to the hotel and offer him some nose beers, see what he says.
Yeah, I think we get a couple of days out before the game. But I think he's going to be a very interesting selection. I think he's the right type of selection. I mean, they spoke about the fact that Tom Lynick obviously didn't make it. Ben Johnson pulled up now. So, it's either going James O'Connor plus 60 caps on the older side, or you're going with the 10 Edmund, who's playing, I think, will be playing his second game. What's interesting is that there's no natural fly-half cover. Nick White is the fly-half cover.
Yeah. This man had to come out of retirement to do such. But I think James O'Connor was a fantastic selection, and they should have selected him anyway if he was available, which obviously he was. I mean, this man has tormented South Africa in his past. Sure, it's been a good few years ago, like harken back to the quarterfinal of the 2011 World Cup. He's the one that kicked the points over to win Australia the game. The Tri-Nations as it was, 2010, both games, he scored a couple tries, didn't miss a kick. Yeah, the man's tormented us before, and I don't see any reason as to why he wouldn't have the confidence to come and do it again, given that he's had more experience as a rugby player since.
Yeah, I think, I suppose, also a bit of a nothing to lose, everything to gain type of situation. I think there are a few challenges harder than the box at Ellis Park.
Sure.
I think New Zealand, Eden Park, for example, an island in Dublin, but the box specifically at Ellis Park, they don't generally lose. The last time Australia won at Ellis Park against the box was, I think, 1962.
1962?
Yeah. And because I mean, shame. I mean, I think it was Tom Wright and Angus Bell in the press today, and they were told about this, and they said, "Have you guys spoken about it?" And to be fair to them, they basically said they had spoken about it. The fact that it's the elephant in the room. The fact that they haven't beaten the box in 50 odd years at Ellis Park.
Sure.
And that makes it quite special. So it's interesting from a psyche point of view. That's going to be playing into them in a big way in terms of they've got the chance to do something special. But it also, I think, illustrates how big a game this is. And you can't have somebody playing their second test for the Wallabies against the box at Ellis Park. You've got to go with somebody like James O'Connor for the experience.
I mean, on the contrary, you could chuck him in there thinking, well, box at Ellis Park, are we going to win anyway? Let's get this guy some...
Lamb to the slaughter.
Yeah.
Like, we're losing anyway. You might as well get into it.
No, shame. No, that's a horrible outlook. But yeah, look, James O'Connor's going to be very interesting to watch. He's going to bring quite a balanced style to his play. And yeah, let's see how it goes, man. I'm quite excited to see him play again.
Next question. Bok game plan. We saw us running quite a lot, obviously, especially in Georgia, where we kind of look to run everything. Fast pitch, dry conditions, nice and warm. Grant Williams, Moily Bok, Andre Esterhuizen, Edel van der Merwe, Apelele Fassi, Kurtley Orense. I haven't even mentioned Jesse Creel, who I think Joe Schmidt name dropped about 3 or 4 times. I mean, from a Bok game plan, surely the plan is we're going to run you off your feet.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, with Tony Ball being a thing now, it seems to be we I don't want to say we're going away from the physicality that the Boks are known for, but rather integrating that physicality with a fast ball running style type of play. The type of play that Hugh Bladen himself would have loved to have commented, running rugby.
You're running into the corner.
Yeah. And particularly with, I mean, obviously we're in Joburg. We've been here for the past couple of months, and it's been dry. It's been pretty warm as well, even though it's winter, and it's going to be perfect conditions for that type of style.
Yeah, I mean, the Wallabies been training out at Cistidians, and there was a couple of sore bodies from any sort of collisions when you're falling on that field because it was dry and hard.
Yeah.
Well, I always think, what we should actually really do when we're playing against the All Blacks is take them to Kimberley.
Yeah, put them in Griquas Park, man.
Like at the moment we don't have to because we're playing quite well. But during the dark days, when Alistair could see was picking half the side that he wanted to pick, back in those days, we should have just said, right, well, we've got to try and even the odds here. Take them to Griquas Park and say, right,
so cool.
I want to see, somebody. I want to see Dave McKenzie dumped onto Griquas Park and see if he gets up. None of these cushioned You know, like Ellis Park's nice and green and lush, and it's like landing on a flippin'
Elite, you know.
bed.
Yeah.
We've got to take them to the tough locations in this country.
I reckon the Griquas could have beaten the All Blacks at Griquas Park. You know?
I think they could be anybody. They could have beaten the 2015 All Blacks at Cricket Park. So that place is where people got to die, really. We're going to move into a new section called the Global Scrum. And basically kind of looking at some of the leading stories around the world and some of the big news happening. And a very interesting development currently in the R360 rugby tournament. We are talking global superstars, international franchises, a tournament that moves from location to location. We're talking about teams in the US, teams in Europe. Actually, I haven't much mention of teams in South Africa, but games being played in Saudi, for example.
I've seen Nou Camp, Barcelona.
Yeah,
they're looking at. It's crazy.
The Bernabeu they've spoken about, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You know,
they
big
play every sport there. Yeah.
big stadiums and big money. Reportedly, a couple of people have committed to it. There was a report saying a couple of South Africans have committed to it.
Nameless, but
your quick take. In for it, out for it.
My immediate thoughts out, but that's me as as a rugby fan, we're always hesitant to change.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, I understand as a player, you're probably in for it because of the money it can bring, like the external investment, power, and knowing that. I mean, I read that one of the ex-New Zealand international stars, can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but he's doubling his salary by signing one of these contracts, you know.
No, they're talking stupid money, you know.
And like the guy can settle his family and his family's family for the rest of their lives, you know. So as a player, I would absolutely welcome it. As a fan, I hate it. I think it threatens the structure of rugby that I'm used to watching. And if it's something that I don't like, therefore it must not happen.
See, you know, I was like that as well. And I must admit, the more I'm going into, the more I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe we need a bit of a shake-up in rugby. Because rugby became professional in the 90s, but rugby just doesn't take itself seriously enough. Well, actually, sometimes it takes itself too seriously and doesn't try and grow the global game from a commercial point of view. You know, you look at the Springboks, they are the cream of the crop of this country. They are our sporting superstars. They've won us World Cups, like Tri Nations, the works, and none of them earn as much as like the Proteas players, for example, earn. Because cricket and IPL and the whole thing like that. I mean, I think Andre Pollard was at one stage the best paid rugby player in the world at 20 million rand a year. 100 Classen makes more than that in one IPL.
Yeah, look, I mean, that is a good point as well. I mean, I guess it's something that if it takes off and it works and is a really cool thing, I'll eat my words, you know.
Yeah, well, I just want to see, I want to see us, like, I want to see Anton Dupont partnering Moni Liebach, you know, with...
Yeah, it's a watch.
With Bundy Aki at inside centre, Jesse Crew at outside centre, you know, I just like...
But then, doesn't that sacrifice the URC, the Champions Cup?
It probably does, you know, but as a Lions fan, I'm not losing much. Yeah, I'm not, it's call a spade, yeah. We're going into URC 4 and we still haven't made playoffs. But I think this becomes a very attractive option for, like, a Malcolm Marx, for example. He's playing in Japan. As far as most of the South African public are, he's out of sight, out of mind. The problem is that SA Rugby have said, if you go and you sign for this league, you will not be eligible for the Springbok. Which I think is going to be... It's Live Golf all over again. Live Golf versus PGA Tour.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing that the Live Golf players can now go play in the Ryder Cup, for example. We're already seeing majors giving them exemptions to allow them to play in majors. So I think the problem is, if they get the right backing, I think if this genuinely gets off the ground and they've got the kind of financial backing, I don't see how, to a certain degree, it doesn't succeed to a certain... I think the biggest issue is obviously a fan perspective, is how do you get the fans there? You can probably get the players there because you can write a check big enough to get them there. You know,
money talks, man.
Exactly.
So.
I mean, somebody like a Circle is probably a bad example because I think he'll hang up the boots after the next World Cup. But if he was 2 years younger and now he's 34, 35 at the next World Cup, and you're thinking I've got 2 years left, you are one of the biggest names in rugby, why would you not go and earn? And we're talking like 10 million. I mean, people, some of the sort of...
I mean, I've been reading dollar salaries in like the millions of
literally,
dollars.
that's what I'm saying. You know, like $1 million salaries.
Yeah,
you know, like $2, $3, $4 million, $5 million.
$17 million rand for what 8 weeks, 9 weeks of
Exactly.
rugby. Yes.
You know, and it's going to be less toning on your body, for example. You know, play shorter seasons. So you can see the concept. I think the biggest problem is, I mean, having a rugby game at Camp Nou. Oh, I mean, how amazing is that?
The question is, would the Spaniards be there to watch?
Exactly. Are you going to find 90,000? And a lot of them are supposed to be based in the States. Now, yes, the World Cup is going to the States in 2031, and this is, I think, probably viewed as one of the things to try and up the interest in it. I don't see how you put 60,000. It doesn't matter who you bring. I mean, they've sold out stadiums when they bought the All Blacks against the USA, but it's like a once-off thing. It's like once every 10 years type of thing, and they go to Washington or whatever. You have these games every week. I don't see themselves filling the stadiums.
Well, I mean, we have the similar problem in South Africa, I guess.
Well, that's my interest. Because I tell you what,
we claim to be the best rugby fans in the world, which we are. Don't get me wrong.
yeah.
But I mean, it's difficult to fill 60,000 seater Ellis Park every Saturday to come watch the Ospreys play, I guess.
Correct.
You know?
Correct. And my thing is, if you bring a team down here, and I'm seeing players like Dan Shear, Anton DuPont, you know, your Sia Khaleesi's, Kurt Lawrence, Cheslin Colby, Artie Sevier, Richie Mwanga, you know, you're seeing your Will Skeltons, your Romain Intermax, Thomas Ramos, you're seeing half the Irish sides, you're seeing your Jack Morgans, your Finn Russells. I'll go watch. It would be interesting for me to see what the South African public would do if they brought that game down.
Well, if they brought it here, I think people would 100% go watch. I mean, it's something new, it's something exciting. Those big name players, people want to see them.
Yeah.
In South Africa, there's no question people would come watch.
And I think that'd be interesting to sort of see. And that's I think that's my shortcoming. I think that's where their shortcoming is at the moment, is that the way the franchise and stuff are supposed to be is just not rugby rich places.
Are these franchises like owned per country?
Well,
or
no, so it's supposed to be completely independent. So, for example, Red Bull is supposedly going to be owning one, which is very interesting because Red Bull have basically just sort of acquired Newcastle Falcons in what was formerly the Premiership, now has been renamed the Prem.
Oh, the Prem.
The Prem.
That's really confusing with a footy lads.
Well, exactly. Like it's like Prem's back this weekend. That's football, not rugby. But anyway, but I mean, there was rumors about like Ferrari owning a side. I mean, you're going and talking
Ferrari,
dude. That's what I'm saying. They've got such a weird bunch of people involved, but I think it's going to be quite almost like Formula One style. I think is kind of where
I suppose they're calling it the Grand Prix type tournament.
It is exactly. So it's instead of having, you know, the Joburg Lions, for example, I suppose it's franchises. So it's like your IPL, Chennai Super Kings, you know, whatever. You're now having a Joburg Super Kings. You're now going to have the Red Bull whatevers.
Or the Ferrari team that like hires a blind man as a team strategist or something.
Correct. Yeah, I know. They would definitely go with an 8-0 split bench and not even name enough forwards in the starting lineup. Anyway, so that's something really interesting. But what I want to see is that what sort of companies are talking. You know, are we going to see? I mean, you think about the Formula One companies, and a lot of them are obviously individually owned and stuff like that. But your Mercedes and stuff like that. Rugby is an interesting one because you don't have. Like Red Bull it obviously makes sense. They're kind of multi-sport. They're not really. They're an energy drink at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But a lot of the
their investments go far and wide.
Exactly. So a lot of the Formula One teams, for example, are obviously very car-based. Your Ferraris, your McLarens, your Aston Martins, your Mercedes, etc., etc. You don't exactly have rugby brands with billions of dollars out there. So I'm very interested to see the type of brands that we might see sort of going after this, because they're going to have to be big, like Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah, I reckon. If you look at team sponsors, you might see Nike putting a team in there. You might see, even big name brands like Adidas, sporty brands. Yes.
Yeah, or we're going to see like an Amazon team, for example.
Oh yeah, look, that's also something.
Your Amazons or your and what will be interesting is then what the sponsorship values are.
Netflix rugby club.
Well, you know what my biggest thing is? If I'm all for this tournament, if they have a good marketing team and they produce cool content. The URC, I'll give them a lot of credit. They're so much better than what we've seen before. The Rugby Championship Twitter account.
Oh, it's useless, man. It doesn't even look like an official account.
No, it's one word, the Rugby Championship. No spaces, by the way, in the name of it. It's not like you can do it on Twitter. They put out a video of Tom Wright versus Cheslin Colby 3 hours after the Bok team was announced without Cheslin Colby. That's the kind of standard that we're seeing being put out. It's just so lazy. And even, I mean, our local sides.
And this needs to be like level with Six Nations type of stuff, you know. And Six Nations is very well.
Yeah, but I want, like, you see some of the content you see. I mean, if you look at like NFL, for example, and the broadcasting and the stats and the graphics and the podcast and the different shows.
And as South Africans, how are we so aware of this? Like,
yo, this is the thing.
Because the marketing is so
exactly.
good.
I mean, I've never watched an NFL game, but I tell you, even now you're watching, you're going, process.
Yeah.
The amount, and I mean, like Supersport, for example, is getting there, and you can see a lot more stuff coming in, but we haven't scratched the surface with the type of content that we should be creating. And I think that's where I think World Rugby are going to lose to R360, because they're going to come and sit there and say, we are going to properly professionalize this. We're going to properly monetize this. I mean, we've seen SA Rugby, one of the biggest brands in the world, have now had to restructure their things, and they're going to basically go from like having like 100 to 200 million rand a year in sponsorship revenue to potentially over R1 billion in sponsorship revenue.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I mean, look, the timing is good as well. If you look to England, I think Wasps have just like liquidated themselves.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've lost London Irish in the last few years. We've lost
the Western Force. No, was it Western Force or was it Rebels?
Rebels,
Australia.
Rebels. We lost Rebels.
Yeah, man. So around the world, we see that the commercial side of things is really eating into teams, and a tournament like this could bring it back. Yeah, perhaps you've changed my mind, Stevie. Like, it could be a...
You heard it here first, people. If you're watching and you're part of R360 and you require a podcast, a media partner, you slide into the DMs. I was twerking for Live Golf. They still haven't phoned me up yet. I'm hoping to go and find them next year when they come to Stain and say, just, you know how you gave like John Rahm 200 mil? I just need one. Just give him 199 mil. And I'll sort you guys out. So, Mike Tyndall and the R360 team, I'm there. I'm ready. I'm cool. I'm not contracted. My Forever Sports contract's up for review. You know, I'll bring in an agent. I'll go get like Mina Raiola, and he'll organize me a good contract. And find me, and then you can go wherever you go, wherever we need me to go. I'll be part of the Burner Bar 4 if there's but yeah, I think what I like about it is, even if it doesn't get off the ground, I like the fact that there's been a scare. And it's a constant reminder that, you know, URC needs to be better, Super Rugby needs to be better, and World Rugby needs to be better. And they can't just rest in their laurels at the moment.
They just got a bit comfortable, you know, all of these tournaments, thinking that they're untouchable.
And it just breeds complacency. And that's, I think, the big problem, is that we haven't seen enough innovation over the last few years to really grow the game properly and stuff like that. And there's still so much ring fencing, and, you know, compared to what you're seeing in other sports where you get all access and you get really cool documentaries, for example. Even like documentaries, Chasing the Sun is levels above. But I mean, All or Nothing All Blacks, when I watched that, I was like, why isn't there more of this? Whereas like football, for example, there's
one for Sunderland even.
Yeah, literally, there's Sunderland, obviously. I think there's one for Newcastle. There's one for Spurs. How many?
Even in cricket, the Australian cricket team had one done.
Yeah, the test.
That was super cool.
And it was phenomenal. And then they tried to go with full contact, and it just didn't really match up with what we kind of wanted. But it's such a big demand for proper rugby content, and we're just not getting it. And that's why I think, you know, your rugby leagues are thriving, and lots of other sports are thriving. And look, rugby union is still massive, and when it comes to World Cups, it's huge. But I think it's got such a long way to go to start matching the other big brands in the world. I mean, you look at your IPLs, the money involved.
Oh, yeah.
And the teams involved, and the analysis involved, for example. And, you know, we're still trying to catch up in rugby, and we've got to try and catch up a bit quicker. The next thing for me is a big contentious one at the moment. This is our official Try or Lie segment. Every week we're going to be finding something controversial. Whether it's a team announcement, a team selection, you know, any sort of a move, for example, maybe somebody moving, unions or whatever. And basically we're going to be deciding, is it a try or is it a lie? This week's question is in the poll. Stormers have a new logo, Al.
That they do.
And what do you think?
I just know I'm going to get absolutely cooked in the chat for this one, but try.
You reckon?
Try.
You're going try?
I'm going try, and I'll tell you why.
Fair enough. Justify yourself.
The new logo, I think it looks quite fresh. for many reasons. It's the shape of the DHL stadium. It shows that they've let go of Newlands. As much as that breaks my heart, I miss that stadium. But the shape looks like the stadium. It also looks like storm clouds. These are the stormers. A little bit of a hurricane cloud going. I think it's pretty cool. It's just neat. It works well. And I think people are just a bit sensationalist when it comes to change in rugby. I mean, I was an example of it right now. We're talking about the R360 and I'm complaining about how it makes a change. But inevitably, people get used to things that change. I mean, flip. Back in the day, I mean, how many changes have we had to deal with as rugby fans? People hated the fact that we were going from Super Rugby to URC.
Yep.
And now everybody loves the URC and wouldn't even imagine going back to Super Rugby. It's the New Zealanders and the Australians that want us back. And if we have to consider things like, brand identity and fan reactions, the fan reaction has been sour. I've been reading comments on social media. People are really not happy about it. But just look a little bit further than, right now. A year from now, you're not going to care about, what the badge looks like. As long as your team is playing good rugby, that's what matters. And, your brand identity is not going to be affected by the fact that your badge has changed. I mean, look at flipping 20 years ago, Woolworths changed their badge and they are still the most successful, brand in South Africa when it comes to high-end shopping. And people are going to say, who's this guy comparing shopping to rugby? But the point is, Stormers have made a change. It's not going to have a huge effect on the rugby that they play and the players that they have and the vision that they have as a team. So try, in conclusion.
You're going to try.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go no. I'm going to go lie. I'm going to go lie. And
the rest of the country will agree with you.
Well, to be fair, the poll is quite split actually. It's
Come on.
74 votes so far, 46%, 54%.
Okay,
I won't tell you which way they're going. So if you're watching right now, go get your votes in right now and give me your thoughts as well. So Ganji, for example, was saying the Stormers logo is cuck with plenty of Ks, and I think there was supposed to be a couple of
that's what most people are
things.
saying, man. But
I think my problem is I was speaking about it yesterday when I did the video. I can understand the rebrand. I think the Stormers logo is a horizontal logo. It's very difficult to use from a design perspective. It is obviously very old.
26 years they've had that logo.
Correct. I mean, they updated the color, but the actual essence of the logo has not remained the same. These days, you kind of have to go to a more modern logo. And look, to be fair, I mean, somebody was so funny. Somebody in the comments was saying, we need to be more like the Premiership clubs who've got the old style sort of crest and they don't change. And I was like, take me back a year, and Northampton Saints changed their logo from a traditional badge to a much simpler one. And there was also outcry. But you've obviously got to try and move with the times, and you've got to try and update logos. I think my problem is, I think if you look at the logo, there's a lot to unpack when you really start looking at it. The fact that the inside of it is the symbol what you'd see on a weather map, for example, for a storm. And obviously within the S. I just don't think it's a particularly strong enough image that it's going to be recognizable or kind of be iconic type of thing in the way that you think of like the Springbok badge.
Give it time.
I just think I don't think there's enough to it. I think it's just very plain and a bit generic.
Mm.
And I think that it looks clean on the jersey. It's being a monotone logo. One color always looks quite clean, and we're seeing a lot of monotone things even in football jerseys, for example. Teams are dropping their crests and going with just a simple like the Arsenal with the cannon, for example, and United do with the devil.
Yeah, and it looks, those are super cool.
It does look very cool.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of understanding it going that way. I think a lot of people sort of and this is a good time being brought in by Eshwin saying it's very similar to the Super Rugby Pacific logo. So I think there's a certain amount of value to that.
That's a good point, yeah.
But
I didn't think of that.
It's obviously not gone down particularly well because Dion Free had to come on Instagram last night and put out a statement basically saying,
I read that.
please relax. Like, it's not replacing our heritage. These things are...
It's a new chapter.
Yeah. So obviously, whenever you rebrand, you're always gonna have to try and.
I mean, there'll be backlash. I remember when the Crusaders changed their logo. I mean, of course, there were like politics behind that too.
Same as the Chiefs in the Prem, for example, and stuff like that.
Yeah, look, people always have backlash when there's a rebranding, but guys, just it'll be fine. The Stormers are not going anywhere. They're still the Stormers.
Well, I think a lot of people are saying, instead of doing a rebrand, can we do a re-team and a re-coach maybe, and maybe a bit of a refresh?
So is that the issue? They're still the Stormers.
Yeah, exactly. They said, this is all fine, but still the same team in the field. But to be fair, I think if I was a Stormers fan, I'd be very excited. They've made proper signings. You've got Ruana coming in, you've got Kubus Rana coming in, you've got Intukunu coming in, Volko Lowe's coming next season.
Yeah, that's huge.
I mean,
it's a massive
they're
signing.
putting together a very good squad. So I don't think it's as look, as I said, from a Lions point of view, I can't look at the Stormers and go, oh, shame, they're going through a lot, because you don't actually understand what you're going through. I'm going through a lot. Stormers fans are not going through a lot. But I think I see your point. I think, and obviously we will get used to it. I mean, we've seen lots of rebrands. Even the Bulls, for example, they did a very minor rebrand. The Sharks also had their rebrand, made it a bit cleaner, for example.
Yeah, like they turned it into like the badge type of thing,
Yeah.
with the Durban underneath. That didn't really change much.
Yeah, a bit of,
Like,
a, bit of a better Shark.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing here is that this is a complete rebrand. It's so different.
Yeah, I think that maybe is probably
the shock
why.
factor.
Yeah, it is the shock factor. It's not like you've removed the kind of, you kept the S, for example, but removed the other stuff, and and which maybe could have been an interesting idea, actually, almost sort of just simplifying the existing logo as a first step towards it. But they have gone with a shocking new rebrand.
No one expected it. They just dropped it out of nowhere.
Well, the problem is they dropped a date and they said coming soon. Everybody went, oh, cool, jersey reveal, and then all of a sudden went bang, new logo. And I was like,
whoa.
Since when were
What's
we?
going on
Since
here?
when were we even talking about this? Like, did anybody know this was happening? What's also interesting is that in the video they had the badge blued out, and they also had the BLK blued out, which means obviously there must be a new kit deal coming in as well. So maybe some more investment coming into the Stormers, which they'll need and they'll want, and because you need to sort of fund these new players and stuff like that. Right. So as mentioned, we don't have a Mall of Shame this week, but I'm challenging all the viewers. We want to have a Mall of Shame next week. Now I'm trying to
How
think.
do they send in their clips and
Send us an email or drop something in the comments of this video, for example. We'll maybe do a bit of a form or something, but at me on Twitter or DM and something like that, and try and send us your Mall of Shame moments. We'll try and monitor them as well, and maybe we'll put it to people to have different Mall of Shame moments, and then we'll maybe vote on it. But I mean, I think of Mall of Shame. I mean, have you ever watched that Gershwin rear step?
Oh man.
Now, whoever missed the
last
tackle,
week,
now that's a Mall of Shame moment. Have you seen that?
With the sheep that's jumping over the oak. It was like that type. I don't know if you've seen that. but
No.
This oak was trying to catch a sheep, and it like stepped him and jumped over him. It looked exactly like that.
Well, there we
Gershwin
go.
Miss, man, but yeah.
There's a clip in the school game where a guy is sort of, as he's passing it, he gets hit, and he does a full 360 before he goes down. He got hit so hard.
What?
Now that is a Mall of Shame moment.
Oh yeah.
You know, so
The oak that gets picked up and driven back like 20
yeah,
steps. And he
when
just
you
throws
when
the
you
ball
when you
forward.
get sat down and you're sitting there grasping for air, those are your Mall of Shame moments, and we need you guys to help us try and find them, because maybe we'll even try and create a bit of a Mall of Shame.
And you don't think about it being international rugby or high level, like any
Anything.
type of rugby.
Give me
content
club
you can
rugby.
Find. Yeah.
Give me go find those club gems, because there are club gems.
Oh, there's so many gems in club rugby.
I mean, I've probably had Mall of Shame moments in my very coveted rugby career. You've definitely had a few handoffs here and a bit and missed tackle here and there. So look, and you know what? Be ballsy. Send yourself in.
Yeah.
Send yourself in as a Mall of Shame and say, I would like to submit myself to the Mall of Shame. Because those are the fun moments that we need to remember and kind of remind ourselves sometimes what rugby's all about.
Yeah.
And enjoying the moments. Oh, let's move to our final segment, which is our picks. Hopefully we'll have a very exciting announcement about what's kind of going to go into that for next week. Last week we predicted Province and
Rick was.
yes.
Yeah. And you said that Province were going to do it. And I disagreed and said Griquas were going to win. I believe that Province ended up losing that game. So I think it's 1-0 Ali in the predictions.
Yeah, look, not ideal.
I think it was 45-17 or something.
Yeah,
and
not
I
ideal.
predicted
Not ideal.
Province to win by like not Province, Griquas to win by a bit less than that. But
Yeah,
I'll
well,
take it.
yeah. So look, the nice thing is that next week we'll hopefully actually have a bit of a system to kind of use. But basically, I mean, we're going to try to sort of keep track of this. So in terms of score predictions so far, by the way, your final try and live, as it stands now, I can't actually end the vote over here. 55% people saying they don't like the logo. But that does mean that 45% are saying they like the new logo.
You see, that 45% is correct.
And I think, to be fair, I think if I put that poll out yesterday, it would have been a lot higher. So even I think a day
absolutely,
on, people
yeah.
have not slept on it, and they've realized that maybe it's not the end of the
They'll
world.
grow into it, man. Yeah.
But let's go into our picks for this weekend. We've got Box versus Australia and All Blacks versus Argentina. I think those are what we're going to sort of stand with. Let's start with the Box and Wallabies. Very difficult game to pick, I think, to be honest. Because the problem is also we haven't really seen the Box probably fire on all cylinders just yet this year. So, Al, where are you sitting with that?
This might be an optimistic one, but I'm going 33-19 in favor of the Boks.
14 points.
Yeah.
So still pretty substantial, but do you reckon Wallabies will score?
They will score, definitely. But I just think we're going to prove to be a bit too much of them. People are saying, and I'm part of those people that are saying, yes, Australia played very well against the British and Irish Lions. But the Springboks are not the British and Irish Lions. We're a different beast. And I think we're going to teach the Aussies a little bit of a lesson 2 days from now. But I'll give them some respect.
I think Wallabies will score. I think the way we're playing kind of almost sort of opens us up a little bit. Jerry Fennery was saying he was very critical with the team about the defense. So maybe we might see a much better improved defense.
What you got?
I'm putting it with about 28, sort of.
Okay.
I'm hoping we put in a bigger defensive effort.
That's a bigger margin than what I predicted.
Yeah, look, I think Marnie's going to cook at the end of the day.
I mean, he will.
Chef Marnie has got it in for us, and he's
at least 2 no-look kicks that cross over for a try.
Correct. And then just quickly before I mentioned this earlier, before we do the New Zealand-Argentina prediction, people, I want to introduce you to this little lad. This is the new Forever Sports mascot, who is going to be going hopefully on tour to Cape Town next week, potentially. And if you watched any of our content during the Rugby World Cup, we had Rassie, the bear, and we took away everything, and we basically tried to do a similar type of concept. We've got now our little Bokkie over here.
Has he got a name?
Probably be a bit more conservative. I'm going to go with a 35-20, but to the All Blacks. I think it'll be a high-scoring game.
Okay, look, the reason why I'm going so high is that Argentina didn't impress me in their recent run-outs against
missing
England.
some big players as well.
Exactly. And this New Zealand team, you know how they always cook. I mean, when they go to Argentina, it's funny. The All Blacks always tend to lose against Argentina in New Zealand.
Yeah.
But I mean, history doesn't mean anything for this. I just think the All Blacks are going to prove far too strong. Beginning of the Rugby Championship, they're going to want to make a statement. Take the advantage of, I mean, look, with no disrespect to Argentina, they are most likely to be the weakest team in the competition this year. And I think All Blacks would want to...
Big call, that. Big call, that.
It's a big call, but Australia have improved a lot, and I think the All Blacks would want to get that points difference over the Boks immediately after game week 1.
Right, well, fair enough. I'm going to go a bit more cautiously. I think that the Argentina are very desperate to emulate that kind of performance they've seen in New Zealand at home. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a test of depth, to be honest. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Contaponi sort of sets the team up and kind of what they go with. So, yeah, I'd like to see a good showing. I mean, it's 11 o'clock at night, so I need to team up and kind of what they go with. So, yeah, I'd like to see a good showing. I mean, it's 11 o'clock at night, so I need to see it. And
you're saying I'm not a big name, man.
Your name is frighteningly long, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's that big. But yes, so we'll just slightly bigger than.
No, I kid. But no, Steve, it's always a pleasure to be here, man. And I think we do need to wrap things up because we've got some calls that are going here.
Correct. I've got Kudu Vorse I need to throw on that, and I need to get myself into some brandies for the weekend. Smash like on the video, subscribe on the way out. Thank you very much for watching episode 2 of More Than Disorder, and we'll see you guys all next